Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline Studio. I'm Sybille Muschik. Yes, there's just a plane flying by. We live on the lake, so these things happen. And today we want to do some work, some intuitive work. We're going to be doing some drawing with charcoal. And I just happen to have a piece ready for you to look at. Now, this is called intuitive drawing. So you can close your eyes doing this if you want, or you can use your left hand or both. I usually use my left hand, and sometimes I close my eyes. What you're trying to do is describe your mood, and it's a wonderful warm-up exercise. This is a common exercise with drawing classes, so I thought I'd throw that at you and see what you'll do with it and enjoy the process. And it's a wonderful way to relax and, keep you in a happy mood. So let's start. This is another one done in graphite. I did this last night. Now, I don't think this will reproduce all that well, but I wanted to show you the process. And this is more linear, more transparent, more high key. The other one was very low key. And here is what we're going to be doing as we work along. Once we get the basic drawing done, we're going to photograph it, and we'll show you that process. And then we're going to do a transfer, and then we'll work on the transfer, and we'll do a warm and cool version of these. So that's the cunning plan for today. We'll see how things work out. So I have a sheet of chart pack paper. Now, this is just stuff that companies get when they want to have a chart and they're doing drawings and things on it. Cheap stuff. You can get it at any printers. And it's great paper for these exercises. They're not archival, so they're not acid-free. So the thing to do with them is to document them, and they might last 10 years if you're lucky and then go yellow, but that's okay if you've documented everything. So I just want to show you how I deal with this. It's on my light table, and I'm just tacking down one side here. I might want to turn it as I'm working. So we'll just take a piece here, and we'll just tack it down on one side, and then you can just lift it from the other side if you want to turn the whole thing. So I have my charcoal, and I'm going to start with a skinny one. Now I have gloves on because charcoal is notoriously messy. You'll get it all over the place, including yourself, your nose, and so forth. But it's lovely to work with. So I'm going to start with my left hand. I'm right-handed, so if you're left-handed, start with your right hand. So whatever your dominant hand is. And then you can close your eyes if you like and just start to draw. This is just intuitive. And you can close your eyes and just, now think basic thoughts like soft, maybe curvilinear, nice circles, lines. You can try a square, just whatever strikes your fancy at this point. If you go off, of course, you'll notice, and that's just fine. Just relax, enjoy the process. Be in touch with your mood. Did you have a really rough day so far? If that case, you might be a little jittery, so slow it down, ease up. So soft lines, really soft. And then maybe some hard lines. Some regular stuff like long. Try some straight up and down stuff. And you'd be surprised when you have your eyes closed what you come up with. Now, drawing is natural to everybody because art is a language, just like, you know, English, French, and so forth. It's a visual language. So we're born with it. Everybody can draw. What they do with it is up to them. And you might want to put some nice music on. I think Josh will probably put some of his lovely music in the background for this. And just go with the process. Just relax. Make your arm move, nice large movements. Don't be afraid of going off the side, going right across. Okay. You can open your eyes and see what you're missing and then just continue on. Your non-dominant hand is more in touch with your subconscious, so it will just do its own thing. Now we're going to change to a wider format. I'm going to just start overlaying. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I don't want you to look, this is a non-objective work. It's not abstract because abstract is sort of taking something we're familiar with and changing it a little bit. This is non-objective. You're not looking for figurative aspects or for landscape elements, not anything you can name. You're just creating line, tone, all the formal elements of the language of art. Just whatever seems to seek your fancy. Now we have quite a lot of background stuff, so now we can maybe tone the paper. So I'm just going to soften some areas with a Kleenex. Some things I will leave. And this will give a background tone to what the work is in the front. And give some background interest. Again, I'm just working intuitively. There's some things I really like and I'm leaving, other things I'm obscuring more. I kind of like these marks, so let's do something maybe contrary. And oh, that was interesting. I'm not sure I can repeat that. There you go. And you can, that's interesting. So just explore, see what the marks will do. Right now it looks like worms or something. We're not supposed to be naming stuff. So thick and thin, thin lines, narrow lines, sharp lines, soft lines, all that kind of stuff is all good. Straight up and down lines. See broken lines, maybe some circular stuff. And you're just creating a rich surface. And again, you're not criticizing. Turn off the left side of the brain. We're just looking and we're seeing passages, things that we like, that have promise. Maybe looking in terms of some nice shapes, that we can work with. Now, lines that are at an angle like this create motion. They are dynamic. Squares stop motion and become static areas. And then look for some of the things in between that could be, maybe you can outline shapes that are starting to become dominant here. So I'm looking for things that you might like to repeat. I really like this, so maybe we'll echo that somewhere else. We have that there, and you can echo it this way as well. Make it more linear, more angular. Now I know teachers often told you don't smudge your work and all these taboos that you have. So let's seriously smudge something. So I'm just going to start picking out some shapes. And this is a good way to do it. And what you'll find is that underneath you can still see the lines, so it becomes kind of like a mirror or a transparency. I'm just finding random shapes that I like. I may change that. Nothing is ready to be resolved at this point. And don't worry about going off the edges. Just try not to do it in the corners, because that just leads the eye right off the picture plane, which is what you're working with. Okay, let's turn this, because I have that tape right there like that. I can just remove the paper, and it will just, I think I accidentally put that one down. That was what I'm not supposed to do, but whatever. Okay, there we go. I just want to have a different viewpoint. Am I seeing more shapes? Yes, I am. Well, how about this one here? You don't want to put something right dead center either. And by working negatively and leaving some of the lighter areas, that brings out other shapes. So that's interesting. And in here somewhere, we have this nice angular shape. Let's just give it more pizzazz. And here we'll shore up that line. And if you really like something, you can darken around it even more, almost like a shadow. That will really bring it out. So we're about ready for some really dark darks for contrast. If you remember the first piece, let's pick a few things that we can darken. Here's a nice little shape. And I'm just going to see how that works. once you find one, of course, then you have to find another one somewhere. And you're still working intuitively, you're not naming things, you're not trying to find imagery, you're just doing a balancing act. What you put someplace, then you have to balance it someplace else. If you get too much dust, just keep a little basket next to you, lift it gently, and then very gently just dust it off a bit. You don't want to breathe this. Sometimes maybe the COVID masks come in handy. You could use one of those for breathing if you're... I'm not creating a lot of dust because I'm careful, but if you're finding it's flaking off, then do wear protective equipment, especially if you have to be, if you're fairly sensitive. Oh, there's a nice little shape in here. Now this is primarily curvilinear. Do a few pieces, make some more linear than others, where it's mostly line work. Maybe you want to do squares or only circles. Set yourself some tasks for these preliminary exercises. And it's a nice warm-up to your art day, especially as you're learning to resolve some of these things. There's no pressure. You're not likely going to show them. Nobody's going to criticize them. They won't know what you're talking about anyway. And some are very dynamic and you can show them, right? So I have done. Especially if you resolve them in color. But sometimes black and white is just so beautiful. Okay, again, I'm going to turn because I need to look at it in a different way. That way you're not sort of set in any one particular way. I now have a kneaded eraser, and we're not going to correct things. We're going to use it as a drawing tool. Lighten some areas up. So light against dark, that's a good rule. In here, that might be a good place to lighten it up. Don't obscure the lines that are underneath. That is creating interest. Maybe in here. Kneaded erasers are great for this kind of thing. You can also use a stump, but the erasers work really well. Things that are coming towards you, to create dimensionality, like a curve of some kind, are good to lighten. Maybe here. Maybe here. And just keep looking for areas that might need some lightening up. You can do this with white pastel as well, but the eraser continues on with this transparency, which I really like. This part here. So I'm just erasing enough, and you can still see those lines underneath as if it's sitting over top of something. you can always re-smudge that area if it's too bright for you, or brighten it up even more. So maybe in here against this dark shape. Let the dark shape crawl over this area. As Josh was saying, you can't help but try and name things, but to avoid that to the best of your ability. So think in terms of line and shade, light and dark. And stand back and look at it, and again, turn it. It almost seems to have a static charge here on the table, and it's sticking really nicely. Okay, I think this shape here is interesting. We'll just deal with that. I would avoid, dead center of things. Like we could do this shape here and have it really bright, but that's practically your center. Maybe this end of it is fine. If you center things, there are ways of doing that, but generally it becomes a bit boring because the eye goes there immediately. And what you want as an artist is to manipulate the viewer so that the viewer is looking at the whole surface and the eye is following certain things, which is why I have some of these curves here. It brings it back here. These dynamic lines help to create flow, and then this kind of shape brings us back. So there is method to the madness. And then really darken down some of your areas. You want that strong contrast. The gloves actually help your fingers, because they're warm, tend to leave marks behind. The gloves help. No, need to do something in here. I think we just darken it a little bit, but not too much. And then we have to remember about balance, so we probably have to do a little bit more here. That's got the same kind of sort of essence to it. Let's see, maybe bring this off a little bit more. And here. I'm just trying to resolve this as fast as possible, considering it's a tutorial. And you can take your time, you can look at it in the mirror. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my charcoal, this thin one here. And I'm just going to do some random, just light marks that just create interest. Just as lightly as you can. Your drawing shouldn't be too ponderous. Especially if you want to create a lighter mood. Here I want to just make sure of nice edges. And just resolving some of these shapes. Maybe along that. Let that fade out. Otherwise the eye will fall right off the page, and that's not what you want. So just obscure that a bit. And any other areas that you want to take down a little bit. Give this a little more shape. So working furiously all over the place, and that's as it should be. Now, of course, the eraser, supposing you want to lighten up an area, it won't go all the way back to the white, of course, because you've put so much charcoal on there, but that could be quite interesting. Maybe some, as if it's coming to the surface, rising, if you will. And it might even reveal some line work underneath. This way it's not such a stark contrast either. You'll have all sorts of rules and reasons for why you do things, and that's fine. That's all part of the game. So do we need some more darks? I kind of think we do. Like this shape here. Just darken around that. And then a nice shape in here. And where those lines cross, you can brighten that up. It's like a curve. And you'll find, you know, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So we could go on and on with this, but we'll leave it at this point right now. I think it will take color really well. We're going to take a variety of shots, and Josh will demonstrate how we will get the next stage into the camera, and then we're going to take it to the computer, edit, and then we'll get the piece printed off, and then we'll do a transfer, and then we're going to work in color. So it sounds like a lot of steps, but a lot of it will be off camera, so you'll just see you know, this process with it being documented, and then we'll go from there. So just want to talk about viewers. Make yourself a little viewer like this, and you can maybe squint with one eye and have a look and see, you know, an interesting area that you might want to blow up as a thumbnail, as we did in the preliminary exercises that I showed you. And and you can do it with your camera as well through your camera lens. So pick out an area that might be interesting. I wouldn't tape it because it might not come off. So just, you know, view it. We're going to just slide it around under the camera and take various angles that I want. And then those will go into iPhoto. I have a Mac. And then we'll print off the most interesting couple, and we'll work with that.
All right, so this is our overhead camera rig, and normally what we do when we're documenting things is we pull it down closer to the artwork and then get this centered where we have to get it. We take the photo with the remote here, and then that goes into the computer later. Now obviously not everyone's going to have one of these at home, so you can get these little stands for iPads and other tablets and phones and such, the tablet just slips right in there, and you put it where you want and you take your photo, and that's one way of digitizing your work. Today we're probably going to use just a regular digital camera rather than move this because we need it for filming yet, and we'll get the images into the computer, work with them, print them, and then back to Sybille. So there you go.
Okay, I'm on my MacBook Pro. We've downloaded the images that we wanted. I might work with them a bit more. We'll flip through them quick. Here's some of the... Might need to put a little more contrast in some of them. And we'll see what strikes me as worth working with. And that one is a bit of a problem because it's a little too top heavy. We would have needed some weight down in here. So we won't use that one. Although I like the shape. So this one I think works. I like the light areas here in contrast with the dark. I think this is one we're going to print. And here is that same shape but a little smaller, and I think there it works because it's, we've got these balancing aspects. Not so happy with that part, and we just might crop that off a bit. Okay, so we're going to go to Edit and Crop, and we're just going to pull that across a little bit more and just get rid of that corner. Okay, I think we're done with that. And then next one, and I think that one's good. This one was our top heavy one. We'll just ignore what. And so we'll go to File, Print. We're going to print them off. And we're going to fit because we're working on an 8x10. So hit Print and Print, and then I like the contrast in that one. Okay, let's do that one. So File, Print. Printing that one. I think we can really get some nice color into that area. Okay, so we're just waiting for the printer, and then the next step will be to do transfers. So this is our copy of one portion of our big image with the charcoal, and we're going to be doing a transfer, a gelatin plate transfer. And the usual procedure, Amsterdam paints, not too much ink, and roll it out. Up and down, and then sideways. Nice even coat and not too heavy. Brayer off. Don't wait too long. Place your image. I use my Baren for making sure there's good contact. My little Japanese printing tool. And then we hope for the best. Okay, it's not too bad. My printer ink is not as good as it could be. For the black, I find that I have more success, with the color, but we have a not bad image. Okay, so we're going to just let that dry, and then we're going to put another color on. Okay, this is more or less phthalo blue. It's called Brilliant Blue in the Armstrong series. We've waited for the plate to dry a little bit so we can have a nice transfer. Rolling it out. This has a little bit of titanium white in it probably, so you have to get it to the point where you can see the image underneath or you're not going to get a good transfer. And work quickly because this paint dries fairly quickly. And I'm starting to see so you just want a slight background tone. Our first image will be on the cool side, and we'll do a warm image for the second part. I think that should do it. I'm using my Oriental paper, lining it up. And I put the smooth side down, use my Beren to rub hard. And hopefully you'll have a lovely image. And let's just do a little bit more here. Okay. Okay, a few little white spots, but we're going to be working on it with pastel. So we have our work cut out for us. All right, so let's take some of our colors. I have my pan pastels. We'll use some of that. And also some other pastels here. I've got some Rembrandts. And these are the Prismacolor new pastels. Okay, so we have our little pan pastel tools, and they just fit in like this. Different shapes for different functions. So we're going to be doing analogous for this cool one. And I was thinking it might be nice to have some of the turquoise. I have a really good turquoise color in the pan pastels. And if you mix, say, the blue and the yellow to get that, it just doesn't turn out well. So here's a little, I don't have the big set. And probably not likely to get it because I have a lot of pastels anyway. Okay, so let's just highlight this a little bit. We don't want to lose any of the nice little details. So I'll use a little tool and we'll just lighten that up a bit. And let's see, let's use our, for this shape in here. And we'll just look at some of the shapes and just work with that. The pan pastels go on like butter. They're just marvelous. And maybe in here. Up in here. Because the transfer is very pale, you know, we have lots to tone. And maybe in here. We'll see how it works. We'll use the background color as our base color. And I did, now with the turquoisey things. Let's do this section more in the lighter shades. Just a whole section in here for interest, and maybe up in here. You get the idea anyway, so you just color to your heart's content until it speaks to you as to what the composition is and how it should work for you. Don't obscure all your background color. Let it work for you. And I kind of like the way those marks work, so let's try some violet with the pan pastels. That's in here. Maybe the tail end of the dark shapes, working into that lighter area. Make sure you let the darks shine through, so it gives it that nice texture. And then we'll go on, I think, to a little bit of green, just to liven stuff up. So you're heading into the yellow range. So you see almost a little bit of it there, so I'm just going to break that. And then some of the lighter areas we're going to head towards the green. Not too much up in here, because that just brings your eye off the page. And it gives it an entirely different cast as you color this than you had with the drawing, which was very linear and almost moody in tone. This is much more, don't like to use figurative terms so that you start seeing things like waves or whatever, but it does have the feeling of water a little bit. So I think that's done. You'll have lots more time to do it yourself. As usual, we're posting all the images at the end of the video, and you have my permission to use them as long as you don't sell the work. Have fun with it. And we're going to go on to the warm transfer and work. So we'll use another image. We'll use this one. And this one should transfer a bit better. I think it has more darks in it. We'll see what happens. I'm not too concerned about cleaning because definitely we took most of the paint off. Nice consistent layer. Burying her off. Well, we ran it through the photocopier twice. Well, my printer twice. It's a color laser printer, HP printer, and that gave us a nice, really black tone doing it twice. So, ready to bray our warm color background. Again, in order to release it, you have to have it transparent so that you can see everything underneath, especially for the more opaque colors. So as soon as you see the image underneath, you're good to go. I think that's why a lot of people have trouble. They don't get to that layer well enough. And then there's just too much paint and it won't pick up the base layer. Now we can see it really well. My oriental paper on the smooth side. Lay it down and burn it. Put lots of muscle into it, but don't wait too long or it will just leave white spots. Do we get a ooh and an ah? Nice. All right, we're finished with the plate. Here's our transfer. And now we can color. So this is the warm print and using our pan pastels. Now to clean these little rubbers, you just take a paper towel and wipe and so forth. I have another one. I want to keep the colors fairly clean. So we're going to be working with reds and yellows and maybe oranges. So we'll figure out where we're going to put our red first. And because it's so intense, we'll use it as smaller areas. So whatever shapes I can see here, we'll figure maybe we'll do that in the red. Just small. And don't forget we have our kneaded eraser, we can clean some of that up. And as I said before, the stuff goes on smooth as butter. And it's transparent. Maybe this one up in here. Always look to see about your composition. So warm colors come forward and cool colors recede. So our background tone recedes a little bit because it's a little bit grayer than, say, a yellow, which would be coming forward. You can take out even with this, but I think an eraser would work better. These are the Pan Pastels tools. You can work with them as well. So give it a bit of a shadow or something like that. Let me just fade that off down in here. Okay, let's try for the yellow. I cleaned this one already last night, so should fit. So where are our lightest areas going to be? Maybe in here. You don't need an awful lot of yellow to create that punch, so use it sparingly. So tiny little areas, things like that. Maybe in here. Okay, and we will, let's see, maybe our kneaded eraser, just to take that down a little bit more. I just wanted a tiny bit of shadow underneath that. This paper is really phenomenal to work with. In spite of looking very delicate, it actually is great for pastel and even erases, as you can see. Now I want to sort of get into the orange, so we'll have to go maybe, I have a broken piece already. So we'll just tone some areas. And that kind of pastel-y look is kind of interesting. We don't have to smudge that. And where else? Maybe a little bit in here. And a little bit in there. Maybe a touch more red. I'm not sure now. I'm kind of... little tiny touches, I think, will finish it off. We'll make a transition there. And just maybe enlarge that in here a little bit. I'll probably erase it back. Just one tiny bit of tone. I'm just taking the starkness down of the background color. Okay, and then a little bit of erasures just to blend and smooth. So just some final little touches. I think it flows pretty well. Just lightening that up a bit. We can see our nice base of transfer. We haven't obscured anything. We've added a bit of that raw looking orange just for interest, and a little bit maybe more there. Just smooth that out. You can use your finger with pastel a little bit. And I think we're good to go. So wasn't that fun? I know it's a long process, but enjoy as I did. And it is a great warm-up exercise, and then by coloring it, you just get that extra little punch to it. So we'll see you again here at Shoreline Studio. Thanks so much for joining us today. And be sure to like and subscribe as usual to help us grow our channel, and we can bring you lots more tutorials as a result. So take care, be well, take care of your families, and bye for now.